Hello there, I'm David Edwards, and I'm the Director of Animal Biotechnology for BIO, the Biotechnology Industry Organization. And we're here at the 2012 BIO International Convention. And we really have the opportunity here in Boston to take the opportunity to showcase biotechnology and to talk to folks that are in the area. And so we're excited to be here on the I Am Biotech Twitter feed, and you can follow along the conversation there. Today I have Robert Chan here from Fidelity Investments in order to talk to you a little bit about what the investment community thinks of synthetic biology and biotechnology. So welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good. We're really glad to have you here. So, Robert, what area of biotechnology are you most interested in for the investment community?
Well, just a quick background. I've been a research analyst for 8 years for Fidelity Investments. I follow the pharmaceutical, healthcare, and insurance industry for the fixed income side. I've looked at companies, conglomerates that are large, established pharmaceutical companies that indirectly invest in a lot of innovative pharmaceutical and biotechnology projects as part of their R&D program.
Great. Well, that's certainly an exciting area for us, and one that helps us stretch out into new areas and new things we can learn about here. I wanted to just quickly ask you some of the questions about what the investment community thinks of biotechnology.
Sure.
And so the first question I had for you is, we have a lot of large companies that work on biotechnology, and we also have a lot of small, innovative companies that work on it. Mm-hmm. How does the investment community kind of look at the differences in risk profiles and things like that between those size companies?
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head there. This is a very age-old debate, right, between risk and reward. And small companies are more innovative. They have higher growth rates. That's where you get the double digits, if not triple digit growth rates. But then you also have established pharmaceutical companies that have a lot of resource to back established projects. Unfortunately, they do have slower growth rates, but they're the ones that can stay with the project for the longest period of time, and they're the ones that actually can push it to the next level. On the fixed income side, fortunately, I have the pleasure of being able to follow companies and invest in companies that are very established and mature, and yet invest in very innovative programs to keep their R&D program very exciting and pro-growth. And so in a way, you don't have to balance the two as much. I think this is a field that is actually very ripe for partnership with some of the large established companies out there.
Great. Well, that's certainly a good perspective you guys have on that, and certainly one that I hope our followers are able to pick up on. One of the other questions I had, you mentioned in that there are certain places that you look at in terms of biotechnology companies. What are some of the milestones that investors really look at to see, is this company going to be successful? What types of things do they need to show?
Right. So, I think it's very dependent on the actual project. But I think the milestones could probably can be bucketed into three large areas. The first one is just proof of concept, right? Can you make the material, whether it be a protein or a short amino acid chain, or some kind of metabolic byproduct? Can you make it? Once you make it, then the next types of milestones would be, can you scale it up to the appropriate quantities? And I think synthetic biology hits the pharmaceutical industry a little earlier than the other industries, because the scaling is less an issue. You don't need massive quantities of certain drugs, whereas if you kind of start looking at this discipline towards the direction of biofuels, for instance, scaling becomes a very critical issue, right? Just because you can create it doesn't mean you can produce it at a scale that is commercially viable and commercially relevant. But I would say after these two types of milestones, the third one would just be the product in the market. Just because you can create it, just because you can scale it, doesn't mean the market is as you would expect, right? So there are risk factors along the way. And all types of companies deal with these factors differently based on their maturity. And I would say different companies and different investors will look at them differently. But the milestones are you can probably broadly categorize them in those three areas.
Excellent. That's very interesting. I know that as we're conducting this interview, we're getting ready to kick off the ribbon cutting for the 2012 Bio International Convention. So while we're in the Buzz Center, the buzz is really all around us right now. So we're having a good time here at the Buzz Center. One of the other questions I wanted to ask you, biotechnology investment has a long time horizon. There's really that opportunity for big rewards, but there's also big risks there.
Absolutely.
How does the investment community deal with that long time horizon?
Yeah, and I think some investors are ready to deal with it, some are not. If you're looking at it from the perspective of an angel investor, an undiversified angel investor, that is a long time horizon, right?
Yeah,
Even some venture capital firms, I question whether they have the ability to look out that far, because they typically are tied to 10-year cycles or whatever their fundraising cycle tends to be. They need to show results to raise their next round. So some investors clearly are not ready to deal with the time frames, but other companies are ready, and those are probably the established companies out there trying to juice up their R&D programs. And I think those guys certainly have the financial strength to withstand it and to be able to invest and partner with the company for the long haul. And so it really depends on the type I think you're dealing with.
Good. And I know you've been involved in some other sectors in terms of looking at financials there. In the biotechnology sector, we have a fairly complex regulatory scheme.
Yeah.
Does this impact your investment decisions? How do you take that into account?
Right. So I think for one of the sectors I look very deeply in, the pharmaceuticals, the FDA is everywhere, right? So it is a very relevant consideration. But even so, I would say it depends on the company, right? If you're looking at it on a project-to-project basis, it is very important, because you do want, if you invest that much money into it, you want to see productive results. But at the same time, if this is just one of many projects, then what's most important for an organization like that is to push forward into an area that you know or you believe will have great returns to your investments in the long haul. And so it's from that context, it is less important. But I would also venture to say that this field probably goes well beyond just pharmaceuticals. At this conference right now, you have energy companies, or you have biomaterials type companies. These are different offshoots of biotechnology that may have less. There are certainly regulations, as with any company, but I think there'll be less the type of FDA type hurdles that pharmaceutical companies have been dealing with for generations.
No, that's right. There's a lot to learn from each company, I think, here.
That's right.
So, we are very excited to be in Boston for the 2012 Bio International Convention. We have a lot of people here today. We have a lot of people that are getting ready to open up the exhibit floor. I look out over the exhibit floor behind us, and there's really a buzz about what's going on there. Can you leave us with any last thoughts in terms of what types of things is Fidelity interested in biotechnology? What areas really are exciting you today?
Well, I only represent one person, but within Fidelity, we have lots of research analysts following many different sectors. And I think one of the most interesting things from my perspective as one analyst within a large firm is to be able to share ideas with different analysts. And I think one of the most exciting things about synthetic biology and biotechnology in general is the ability to tap into multiple streams of industries. It's not finite, right? We're not focused on one thing. It very much pervades different areas that you wouldn't expect. And I think that's the most exciting part of it, just the concept of associating it with a different field that you ordinarily would not, or for such an industry. And this is what the future is about. Certainly right.
We look out and Fidelity has some banners out there that include a goat that makes spider silk in its milk. So if you think about applications that are out there, this is an industrial application where you can use the spider silk for Kevlar or for products like tendons and ligaments and things like that. Excitement really abounds within biotechnology to do some of these things that you guys are talking about and that we're talking about. So thank you very much for joining us here at the Buzz Center today, and make sure that continue to follow us on I Am Biotech, the Twitter feed, and enjoy the convention.
Thank you, I will.